Welcome to Boot Basics, where PC building is made simple. This is Module 1 of our complete PC assembly course. Today, we'll explore one of the most important parts of any computer build, the PC case. You'll learn the purpose of every section, identify the mounting locations for your components, understand airflow, and get familiar with the layout before we begin the actual assembly. By the end of this lesson, you'll know exactly where every major component belongs. So, let's get started. This is the front panel of the PC case, where you'll find the most commonly used buttons and ports. First is the power button. Press it once to turn your PC on or off. Next is the reset button. If your computer becomes unresponsive or freezes, pressing this button will restart the system without unplugging the power. Below that are the headphone and microphone ports, allowing you to quickly connect a headset or external microphone. You'll also find the USB ports for connecting devices like flash drives, keyboards, mice, and external hard drives. The black ports are USB 2.0, while the blue ports are USB 3.0. USB 3.0 provides much faster data transfer speeds, making it a better choice for high-speed storage devices. This is the back of the PC case. At the top is the motherboard I/O area. Once the motherboard is installed, this is where you'll connect your monitor, keyboard, mouse, USB devices, network cable, and audio. Next to it is the rear exhaust fan, which pushes hot air out of the case to keep your system cool and maintain proper airflow. Below are the PCIe expansion slots. This is where you'll install expansion cards such as a graphics card, Wi-Fi card, capture card, or other PCIe devices. At the bottom is the power supply, or PSU, mounting area. This is where the PSU is installed and where you'll connect the main power cable to the computer. Now it's time to open both side panels of the PC case. First, locate all the screws holding the side covers in place. Most cases use thumb screws at the rear, but some may require a standard Phillips screwdriver. Carefully remove each screw and place them immediately into a screw container or magnetic parts tray. Keeping screws organized prevents them from getting lost during the build. If your case has a tempered glass side panel, use extra caution. Support the glass with one hand while removing the final screw to prevent it from slipping or falling. Once removed, place the tempered glass panel on a soft, clean surface, away from the edge of your workspace. This helps prevent scratches, cracks, or accidental damage. Remove the opposite side panel as well. This is the cable management side, where you'll route and organize all your cables later in the assembly process. With both panels removed and stored safely, your PC case is now fully open and ready for component installation. Now we're looking at the motherboard side of the case. This is where most of the computer components are installed. The largest area is reserved for the motherboard. At the rear are the PCIe expansion slots, where you'll install the graphics card and other expansion cards. Above them is the rear exhaust fan mount, which helps remove hot air from inside the case. Many cases also support additional fans or a radiator at the top for improved cooling. Around the motherboard tray, you'll notice several cable routing openings. These allow you to route cables behind the motherboard, creating a cleaner-looking build and improving airflow for better cooling. Now let's look at the cable management side of the case. This area is designed to keep your cables hidden and organized behind the motherboard tray. You'll find cable routing openings, tie points, and channels that make cable management easier. You'll also find mounting locations for 2.5-inch SSDs on this side. At the bottom is the drive cage for installing 3.5-inch hard drives or additional SSDs. Finally, the lower compartment is the PSU mounting area, where the power supply is installed. At the bottom of the case, you'll find a removable mesh dust filter for the power supply. When your case supports it, install the PSU with its fan facing downward toward the filter. This allows the power supply to draw in cool air from outside the case, while exhausting warm air out through the back, helping it run cooler and more efficiently. These are the front panel cables that connect the case to the motherboard. They enable the power button, reset button, power and drive LEDs, front USB ports, and front audio and microphone jacks to function properly. We'll connect each of these cables to the correct motherboard headers in a later module. Before placing the motherboard into the case, the first thing you need to check is its orientation. The easiest way to do this is by looking at the motherboard's rear I/O ports and matching them with the I/O opening on the back of the case. Once these line up correctly, you'll immediately know which way the motherboard should face and how it should be positioned inside the case. This simple step helps prevent installation mistakes and ensures everything aligns properly. Now let's look at one of the most important steps in building a PC, installing the motherboard inside the case. If you look closely at the motherboard, you'll notice several circular mounting holes with reinforced metal rings around them. These are the only points where the motherboard should be secured with screws. Before installation, each of these holes must line up with a matching motherboard standoff inside the case. Now that we know the correct orientation of the motherboard and have identified the screw mounting points, let's understand why motherboard standoffs are so important. If you look at the back of the motherboard, you'll notice many exposed metal solder points and electrical connections. If the motherboard is mounted directly against the metal surface of the PC case, these exposed contacts can touch the case, causing an electrical short circuit. This can prevent the computer from working or even permanently damage the motherboard. That's why we install these small metal spaces called motherboard standoffs. One side of the standoff has a threaded screw that is installed into the mounting holes of the PC case. Make sure to install the standoffs only in the positions that match the mounting holes on your motherboard. Once the standoffs are in place, the motherboard will sit securely on top of them, creating the proper gap needed to prevent electrical short circuits. Now we're looking at the motherboard mounting area inside the PC case. Before installing the standoffs, the easiest way to identify the correct mounting points is to place the motherboard inside the case first. As we learned earlier, always start by aligning the motherboard's I/O ports with the I/O opening at the back of the case. This ensures the motherboard is in the correct orientation and sitting in its proper position. Next, carefully line up the motherboard mounting holes with the threaded holes on the PC case. Notice which holes match and which ones don't. These matching positions are exactly where the motherboard standoffs need to be installed. Take a moment to remember or mark these locations. Installing standoffs only at the matching points ensures the motherboard is properly supported and prevents damage during installation. Now that we know exactly where each standoff needs to go, it's time to install them. Simply take each motherboard standoff and screw it into the correct threaded hole in the PC case. Make sure every standoff is tightened securely, but don't over-tighten them. Once all the required standoffs are installed, the case is ready for the motherboard to be mounted safely and securely. Now let's place the motherboard on top of the installed standoffs. As you can see, the motherboard sits slightly above the PC case instead of resting directly on the metal surface. To make this easier to understand, I'll slide this tool into the gap between the motherboard and the case. This clearly shows the small space created by the standoffs. This gap is very important. It keeps the exposed solder points and electrical contacts on the back of the motherboard from touching the metal case, preventing short circuits and ensuring the system operates safely. Now I'll install just one motherboard screw as a demonstration. This is simply to show you how the motherboard is secured to the standoffs. Don't worry about the complete installation process, we'll cover that step by step in Module 2, where we'll mount the motherboard properly, install all the screws, and go through the entire process in detail. Now let's remove the front panel of the PC case so we can install the front intake fans. Before removing any case panel, it's always a good idea to check your case manual for the recommended removal method. Different cases use different mounting mechanisms, and following the manufacturer's instructions helps prevent accidental damage. In our case, the front panel is secured with plastic push clips. I'll carefully pull the panel away from the case until the clips release and the front panel comes off. With the front panel removed, you can see the fan mounting locations. This case supports up to 3 front intake fans, but for this build, I'll be installing 2 120mm fans. Okay, now let's look at these fans. In a typical PC build, the fans at the front of the case are used as intake fans. The job is to pull cool air from outside the case and push it inside, where it helps cool the CPU, graphics card, and other components. But how do we know which way the fan moves air? The easiest way is to check the side of the fan frame. Most fans have 2 small arrows molded into the plastic. The first arrow shows the direction of the airflow. In this case, the arrow points inward, which means the air will travel in that direction. The second arrow shows the direction the fan blades will rotate when the fan is running. By checking these 2 arrows before installation, you can quickly make sure the fan is facing the correct direction and will provide the airflow your PC needs. Now it's time to install the fan. If you look closely, you'll notice that the fan has 4 mounting holes, 1 at each corner. These holes are used to secure the fan to the PC case. Simply align the fan with the matching mounting holes on the front of the case, making sure the airflow direction is correct. Once the holes are lined up, insert the fan screws and tighten them one at a time. It's a good idea to tighten the screws gradually in a crisscross pattern so the fan sits evenly against the case. Don't over-tighten the screws. Tighten them just enough to hold the fan firmly in place without damaging the fan frame or the case. Now that the fan is installed, let's take a look at the two cables coming from it. The first cable is labeled RGB. This cable powers and controls the fan's lighting effects. The second cable is the fan power cable. This is what powers the fan motor and allows the motherboard to control the fan's speed. Both of these cables will eventually be connected to the motherboard. Don't worry about making those connections right now. We'll cover each one step by step in the next module when we install and connect all the components together. Now that the fan installation is complete, it's time to put the front panel back on. Carefully align the front panel with the front of the case, making sure all the plastic clips line up with their matching slots. Once everything is aligned, gently press around the edges until each clip snaps securely into place. Avoid using excessive force. If the panel doesn't fit properly, remove it and check the alignment before trying again. Besides the motherboard standoffs, there's one more important component we need to install, the I/O shield, also known as the I/O plate. The I/O shield fits into the rectangular opening at the back of the PC case. It covers the gap around the motherboard's rear ports, giving the system a clean finish while helping keep dust and debris from entering the case. To install it, simply position the I/O shield from the inside of the case and press firmly on all four corners until it snaps securely into place. Once the I/O shield is installed, the case is fully prepared for the motherboard installation, which we'll cover step by step in Module 2. Note, if your motherboard has a pre-installed, integrated I/O shield, you can skip this step because it's already attached to the motherboard. This is common on many modern motherboards. Congratulations! You now understand the layout of a PC case and the purpose of each major section. Before installing any hardware, always check the motherboard mounting points, install the correct standoffs, and plan your airflow. A few minutes of preparation can prevent costly mistakes and make the build much easier. In Module 2, we'll explore the motherboard, identify its components and connectors, and prepare it for installation. If you found this lesson helpful, like the video, subscribe to BOOTBASICS, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next module. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Module 2.